The Dynamo Tools data entry routines can also be used within your application programs. Let's use the Data Entry Examples program to look at the code required. To store entered data in simple variables, you will call program CDS069. To store in a templated string, you will call CDS039. So the arguments to be passed are the minimum and maximum lengths of the string, the column and row where the entry should appear on this screen in the current window. You can also pass them as 0 for the entry to be located at the end of the prompt. The prompt is the next argument. The prompt is always displayed to the user at the bottom of the screen. The next argument is a complex type with some optional prefix and suffix characters. On a string entry, the next argument is going to be returned as the length of the entered data, and the actual data entered will be returned in the final string argument. So as you can see, the prompt at the bottom of the screen, this code is running now. So this is the code with the maximum 5-character string. The little plus symbol in front of the prompt is a shortcut for the word enter. In some cases, it will be replaced with the word touch when you're passing the arguments in a way that one keystroke will satisfy the entry without requiring the user to touch enter. This is a simple alphanumeric variable length string, so it's an A. I'll enter ABCD and hit enter. The control value is returned to 0. There were 4 characters entered, and its string value is ABCD. Here's an example for a longer piece of text, such as a name or an address. The home and end keys move to the beginning or the end of the field. You can also move left and right with the arrow keys or with the tab key. The insert key can be used to toggle. You can also use the delete key to delete out characters. There's also an option to touch the F11 key to convert something to proper or uppercase. I'm touching the F11 key and touching it again. In some cases, the text is longer than the screen space available. The type code H is used for this situation. So you notice as I get past the visible region on the screen, the beginning of the string is marked with an arrow indicating that there's more text to the left. And similarly, if I moved back to the beginning, as I did there with the home key, you can see that there's more text to the right. And all of the other features are still the same. You can tab, you can insert, you can delete, you can backspace. The routines support integers, positive or negative, amounts, currencies, prices, for example, and floating decimal points, as might be used for a quantity, which are normally integers but could have fractional parts, for example, for labor hours. The calling arguments for dates are fairly similar. The difference is how you want the date stored. Is it stored in a Julian format? In this case, the min and max represent either absolute dates in Julian format or days offset from the current date. In this case, the type is a J, indicating we're going to enter and store the date in Julian format. I can enter special codes like T for today, plus for tomorrow, C for a calendar, and there's other options as well. So you see the numeric value is returned as the Julian date, which is true for all of the date formats, regardless of how you're storing it, and the stored value is returned in the string. For validation, the format's similar, but typically there's a suffix involved. In this case, YN indicates that the valid choices are just Y and N. You can also use the string variable as the default value, so the user just has to touch enter to accept the default. Here's a simple list where we've got state codes of OH, PA, NY, and NJ. I can just type that in, but you can also, if you don't know, hit the F2 key and select from a list. Here's a list with the related fields. You can also auto-display the list so the user doesn't have to touch the F2 key first. You can also use this with numeric entries and date entries, not just strings. File verification, we're basically saying we're going to enter a 10-character string. We're going to look it up in this data file. Knum's not specified, so we're going to be using knum0. I hit F2 to see what the valid lists are, and I want that one. So you can see with very little differences, adding a prefix of F saying it's a file lookup. L is our left justified field. This is the file name, and the key is basically what we were entering there. And I could have entered it or touched the F2 key. There are some additional entry options with function keys and help text, and you can learn more about how to use Dynamo Tools data entry routines within your programs at excelware.com.